Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast. That's PNL Podcast for short. I'm your host and founder, Jen Noseworthy. Tonight, we're doing a December 31st, 2024 Paranormal New Year's Eve special to help bring in the new year, 2025. This is a pre-recorded show broadcasting on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans, and 105.3 FM Gulf Coast. Listen to Paranormal NL Podcast on UPRN on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. EST. Paranormal NL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG team, a boots-on-the-ground team doing paranormal investigations in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. And follow UPRN at uprntalkradio.com and all their socials. Paranormal NL Podcast believes in promoting paranormal networking and paranormal tourism all over the world. Contact me, your host, Jen, at paranormal.nl.podcast@gmail.com. Or follow PNL Podcast and the BOG team at their Linktree, Paranormal NL Podcast. Let's get on with the show. In a few seconds, I'm going to bring on the stage here my special guest for tonight. And if you can hear in the background some of the Boots on the Team background music that he made tonight for our New Year's Eve 2024 show, here he is, Mr. Robert Dumond. Robert, woohoo! Welcome.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Welcome. I got my party favors.
I have no party favors.
I'll just mail you some, man. Welcome back to the BOG. Well, you're part of the BOG team, but welcome back again to Paranormal NL Podcast. Later on in UPRN, you'll see Rob again with the BOG team. But Rob, go ahead and introduce yourself. I'll give you time to talk about all kinds of cool stuff that you're doing.
All right, sure. Yep. So my name's Robert Dumond. I'm a paranormal investigator. But other than that, I'm also a film producer and an actor, and I'm working on a bunch of really cool projects, and probably tell you a bit more about that later, but yeah.
Yep, Rob is a jack of all trades, that's for sure. He was on back in season 1 when I was just doing radio episodes way back when I wasn't on UPRN. But Rob, tell me a little bit about what's going on right now. I think I have a trailer soon that I can pull up, but do you want to talk a little bit about your film and things like that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually working for a company out of Los Angeles, and I'm producing movies. I assist and direct. I do editing. I do a little bit of everything in the film industry, and my strategy has been to learn every aspect of the film industry.
Love that. Everybody loves a good film. So I've got something that you sent to me, a teaser. You want to talk a little bit about that before I throw it on stage here?
Yeah, sure. This is actually going to be the next film that's going to be released of the ones I've done. So I'm one of the producers of this movie, and it's called Obscura. And I think you guys are going to like this one.
Okay, I'm going to put it on full screen here, and we'll go ahead and see what it's all about.
Roger, Razorman. Razorbacks are boots on the ground at checkpoint Alpha. Ready, Charlie Mike. Over.
A new warfare.
Man, what the hell are those things?
Band, are you seeing this?
What is obscure?
It's supposed to be a day at the beach, man. Shooting guns, blowing shit up. Is there something else you want to tell me?
You don't want to come check this out. Got a bunch of bikers here, 5 clicks out.
Hands up! You're trespassing on federal land! Place your weapons on the ground. Keep your hands up. What was that?
Is this part of our drill?
Obscura.
It's here!
Allora. Retract.
Let's take cover in that building.
I saw it.
Crack a 5-gun, Doctor.
Hers. Only women lay eggs.
You're so caught up, you can't see the snake that's curled up at your feet. They're watching you right from there.
Wow, that looks awesome, Rob.
Yeah, and it's got a bunch of great people in it. It's got Jerry G. Angelo. He's on shows like Better Call Saul. He did American Warfighter. It's got Robert Lasardo, the big bad guy from CSI Miami, and Nip Tuck.
It's kind of like Alien-esque with military in there.
Right.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Versus
I'm
biker kind of deal.
definitely looking forward to that for sure. So, Rob, tell me a little bit about how you got into the paranormal.
So I got into the paranormal because I had experiences myself at a young age. And later on in life, I was afforded the opportunity because I was a licensed private investigator. I was afforded the opportunity to work with a paranormal TV series. And
Okay. Is that the one here in Newfoundland and Labrador?
Yeah, it was Newfoundland and Labrador Paranormal, and it was on NTV. And we actually did a public ghost hunt, and they got some exposure to me and stuff like that. I was working with my own group at the time, Life After Death Society, with John Mallard.
Shout out to Jonathan Mallard for sure. He was on season 1 with me back in 23, and he introduced me to you.
Yeah, and he's a great investigator as well.
And everybody check out his EVP book. He's an author also.
Yep. And he actually writes about me in his book, and he calls me a conduit.
A conduit. Now, why does he call you a conduit in the book?
Because when I'm around, it's like the spirits are able to utilize my energy and stuff like that. And there's more paranormal activity when I'm around than when I'm not around.
Now, I definitely noticed that when we were at the Torbay History House and Museum. Yep. We were there with CBC News with Abby Cole, a reporter, recently in October. And when you were in there, you went in there alone while we were out doing SDs, and you were in there alone. And my dowsing rods kept pointing at you in there. Because we were asking, where is this entity that we were looking for? And it kept pointing towards where you are. It was hanging out with you in the crawl space. Do you want to talk a little bit about that in there?
Yeah, sure. I actually, I prefer, like, this is going to sound terrible, but I prefer to investigate alone. I find when I'm by myself, isolated in an area that's supposedly haunted, I really connect with the spirit. And I think the key to communicating with spirit is intention.
Right.
And I'm really able to focus my intention on helping them. Okay. And I think they receive that. And I think they're willing to try to communicate with me because of the intention behind what I'm doing. I'm not necessarily doing it to capture evidence to expose that they're there. I'm doing it because I want to help them.
I think that they knew that you were there to help them, even though I think there were multiple ghosts there. So, some of them were saying, oh, get out and things like that. But I think that was the one that the entity that didn't want the other spirits to talk to you.
Right.
To ask for help.
Yeah.
Because you had, children coming up to you and, several different ones. Did you want to talk about any of those? I
even had one say that it was shot. Like clear as a bell, said I was shot. And that's like directly related to the kind of questions we were asking, like, why are you still here? That kind of stuff. I was shot, clear as a bell.
And what about there was a lot of different evidence. Like when you were around, it seemed like it really knew that you wanted to help. And I think you showed us some other really compelling evidence that you had. Was it over in here in Newfoundland and Labrador? It wasn't Signal Hill. I think it was Cape Spear. Yeah. Yep. Did you want to talk about that?
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
I was amazed at what you showed me. It was awesome.
Yeah, so I got a picture of a spirit from up in Cape Spear. It's probably one of the clearest ghost pictures. Not only have I, ever captured, but that I've ever seen. The detail in which the spirit manifested itself was just so crystal clear that you could see, the Adam's apple, the mouth, the nose, the eyes, the collar on his shirt. He appears, like, from analyzing what he was wearing and stuff like that, he appears to be around the 1940s.
Yeah.
He has goggles on his head, like the old aviator goggles and stuff. And then,
Do you want to paint a picture for the people listening who don't know what Cape Spear is around the world who are listening?
yeah, so it's the most eastern point in Canada, but it was also like a military. It was utilized by the military during the wars and stuff like that to look for incoming subs and, invading forces, I guess.
I want to say the picture that you got was over near the bunker, because there are bunkers there. There's still some cannons and whatnot over there. And I think that bunker, was that near the cannon?
Yeah, it was an actual cell where I took the photo where they would hold prisoners.
Wow. So there's got to be a lot of energy in there from prisoners and war and things like that. I mean, you've got a lot of other different experiences. Did you want to talk about some of them? Like, I know you've had like near-death experiences.
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, I'll tell you about how I my first experience that kind of led me down the road of believing in spirits.
Okay.
That segues into one of my my near-death experiences. So yeah, when I was 5, I'll just give you a quick summary. You guys can go back and listen to the previous episode I did, where I go in depth on it. But basically, I was 5 years old. I was in an apartment building, and I lived across the street from a graveyard. So I was used to seeing people getting buried and stuff like that. And I was always kind of scared of the ghost. I was the kid with a nightlight all the time because, I didn't want the ghost to get me in my sleep and stuff. But one particular night, there was a lightning storm and the power went out and my nightlight went off and I got terrified, of course. And I get out of bed and I go to run to my dad, and knew the layout of the house really good and stuff like that. So I was doing it kind of by, in the dark. And I darted out of my room and I started running down the hall and stuff. And we had a wicker chair at the end of the hall right before my father's bedroom.
Okay.
In this wicker chair is this little girl. And she's sitting there. And she's glowing, but she's still solid. I don't know how to really explain it other than that. She had this like light greenish glow to her.
Greenish glow.
And she was just sitting in the chair. She had long braids on either side of her head. And
right.
I kind of locked in position and froze. So I'm staring at her. She's staring at me. She didn't say anything. She just we just kind of locked on in that moment and stared at each other. And I was terrified. I was trying to scream, but nothing was coming out. And then next thing you know, I'm shaking my father, trying to tell him, like, hey, I just seen ghosts. And he's like, scram, kid, go back to bed.
What is it about adults who don't listen to kids with stuff like that, right?
Yeah, right. And I wasn't one to ever go to him with stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I usually just, would be terrified and just stay in my room. But I felt the need that, at 5 years old, I wanted my father, and I wanted him to know that, I just seen this and stuff like that, because I was scared to death,
Right. Yeah. Like you would. So
right.
what happened after that?
All right. So after that, he basically told me to go back to bed, and she was gone at that point and stuff like that, which I was relieved. I never seen that spirit again until I was, I think it was 18, and I'm driving down the highway. I just finished the long shift and stuff like that. And I'm driving down the highway heading home, and the road kind of goes straight and then kind of dips.
Right.
Okay? So I'm about to go onto this dip where the road dips down, and I'm driving along, and all of a sudden that same girl that I seen when I was 5 is standing in the road. She's a little bit older now, which is bizarre, but she was standing in the road, and she was standing in my side where I was heading. Okay. So I'm heading towards her, and then I realize like she's standing there, and I go and dart into the oncoming traffic lane.
Right.
Right where she was standing, a semi came up, crested over the hill, and blew right through where she was standing. So if I wouldn't have swerved in the oncoming traffic lane, I would have been head on with that semi, and I would have definitely died.
Oh my gosh.
It was moving.
So do you think that this entity or spirit, what do you think that was all about? Like, what do you think happened there?
I don't know if it's an attachment that was just watching over me. I do feel I have spirits that are watching over me.
You know, a lot of people say that you do have guardian angels, benevolent ones who kind of help you along in life.
Yep. And I think that for the most part, they're just observers. Like when I was 5, even though that spirit didn't speak, it kind of felt to me, like looking back at it, as if she was just letting me know she was watching. And I wasn't actually supposed to see her.
Okay.
Right. But I did. And she saw me. And then she was probably, just as freaked out that I could see her as she could see me. And we just walked in this like moment of time.
I've had other people say that, that they've seen spirit, but the spirit was just as surprised as the human, that the human could see and interact, right?
Right.
I think that happens a lot. And I know you've had, now, I don't think we touched on your investigative skills. I mean, you are a paranormal investigator, but that goes pretty deep. I mean, when it comes to investigating, you've got an upper notch on a lot of people in regards to that. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah. So like with the investigating, like having been a licensed private investigator and stuff, I'm used to, finding background information. I've applied it in other ways, like even with the film stuff. I'm working on a TV series that I'm putting together all about pirates and stuff like that. I can't talk too much about it because I'm under NDA. And
right. Everybody loves a good pirate, and we got pirates on our logo that you created for us at Paranormal NL.
Right. But yeah, I'm a researcher at heart. So I dig deep into stuff. No matter what it is, I'm gonna dig into it and analyze it and try to find more information and try to fill in the blanks. And so like even with the pirate thing, I worked with several countries' archives and stuff like that, and amassed probably the most thorough investigation into the pirate Peter Easton than anybody on the planet.
I love that.
And
Tell us a little bit about who Peter Easton is for the folks in around the world who are not quite sure, because the Newfoundland Labrador has a deep pirate history because we are in Ireland and we're on the east coast, most easterly coast and point in North America. So anybody coming across, of course, they're going to be plundering over here. So you want to tell us a wee bit about that?
Yeah, I can tell you a bit. I can't say too much again because this is
who he is.
what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah, Peter Easton. Peter Easton was one of the greatest pirates ever. He's one of the few pirates that ever actually retired, like fully retired from piracy, and lived like royalty after.
Wow.
He bought entire sections of Savoy. There
was a big pirate industry in and around Newfoundland and Labrador back in the day, and a lot of people were hired to protect Newfoundland and Labrador small fishing towns from the plundering.
Right. And he was one of those guys. That's how he started out. He was working directly for the Queen, Queen Elizabeth I, and he was here to protect the fishing fleets from the Basque and the French, all the other people that would come and steal all our fish and go back home with it. Right. That's how he started. He was here. Then when she died, when Queen Elizabeth I died, King James took over. And when King James took over, he made peace with Spain, which essentially put Peter Easton out of business. And that's when he had a choice. He could either go back to England or go back to the British.
Right.
Stopping his pirateering and stuff like that on behalf of the Queen or King at that point. But he could either stop or he could continue doing what he's doing and become a pirate. So that's essentially what he did. He went from like a noble, I'm working for the queen, to now I'm going to be a pirate because I really don't have a choice. I don't want to go back home and be a farm laborer. I'm very good at this. I'm very successful. And if I was keeping everything and not sending it back to the crown, I could be very wealthy.
And we have a lot of pirate ghosts and things like that. You'll see a lot of books. For example, Dale Jarvis, he was on Paranormal NL Podcast too back in season 1 also, before I was on UPRN. He talks about a lot of different places in Newfoundland and Labrador with pirate-esque type of spirits and ghosts. And I've had a lot of other people like Bud Davidge come on, and lots of other folks talk about down by Buren. There's a heavily amount of pirates down around that area. I think Donnie Love may have even touched on them too when he came on back in season 1. But since we're talking about the ocean, Rob, let's backtrack on the Devil's Toy Box from where it ended up in the ocean.
Okay. So I haven't really introduced that story here yet, so I'll kind of delve into that. So basically, I did an investigation with the TV series that I was working with at the time, doing the paranormal investigating. We had done an investigation into a house that was, haunted, not just to the owners that were currently there, but every owner that had lived in that house had the same kind of experiences. A lot of poltergeist activity, a lot of, just negative experiences. So the homeowners had asked us if there's a way to remove a ghost, please do that. So I'm used to experimenting with, creating things.
There you go. I'll light a bit of sage for you.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm used to experimenting and trying to, create different devices and this and that. In my research for the paranormal, I want to, what new can we do, or what different stuff can we do that would, help further our cause. So they asked us to remove a spirit. I'd never done that before, so I'm like,
and most spirits don't want to be removed, right? No. I mean, they want to live where they're living, right?
So one of the things I read about was called the Devil's Toy Box. And essentially what it is it's 6 mirrors, the top, the bottom, and the 4 sides. But it's like a one-way mirror. So like the reflection part of it's all facing inward. So every mirror reflects upon every mirror, but only from the inside. And the outside's like a black painted surface that you can't really see through.
Then the theory is they can't escape the mirrors, right?
Yeah, so they can go into the box, but once they're in there, they can't cross out because of the reflection. And the theory is that spirits won't cross their reflection, their own reflection. So I build this box. I seal it with wax on the edges and stuff like that. Use a little bit of tape just to kind of hold everything together. Brought this into the house. We'd done our investigation like we normally do. We did have a couple, incidents and experiences and stuff like that. I don't even think they ever put that episode on TV, actually. I think that was one of the ones that when the show was canceled, it just went by the wayside and was never released.
I would have loved to have seen that one.
Yeah. So anyway, like what ended up happening was we coaxed the spirit to go into the box.
How did you do that? Like, how did you get it to go into box?
We were simply asking it to.
Oh, okay.
We were like setting our intention that, you were to go in the box.
Okay.
That's where you're going to go, and we were telling it like, you need to go into here.
Get in the box.
Yeah, pretty much, like
without said weapon or something.
Yeah. We're just like, now's the time to go into the box. And finish the investigation. Everybody packed up all their gear. We're all heading home. Originally, my idea was just to take that box and throw it in the dumpster and go on about my life and hope that we removed it and check back in with the people and be like, hey, are you still having experiences or is it gone?
Right.
That's not what happened. So when I was driving home, the entire way home, I felt dread. I felt like I was going to be in an accident. I was like very high anxiety, nervous.
And
And
this thing was in your car, right?
the thing was in my car. I kept the box. And then I started thinking, well, because I'm having this anxiety and because I'm having this like dread that I'm going to get in an accident and it's like kind of psychologically attacking me, I'm curious. You know what I mean? I'm curious.
Right, yeah. I had to ask them, why did you take it home? I think I might have asked you on the other episode, but
I think it's
forget.
because I was so intrigued by
Like you would be if you're a paranormal investigator, right? Like, like,
having
what
with
is
it.
this thing and like why, what is it? So okay.
And so I did bring it home, and my idea was I want to research this now. So if it is inside, which I at that point like assumed that it probably was, seeing as how I was having some kind of psychological attack from it.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I'll bring it home. It can't get out. It won't cross its reflection, so I'm safe.
Right.
Bring it home. I'll put it on my kitchen table and start experimenting with it. Right. So like I have this suction cup microphone that I use as a private investigator. You can like suction cup it to the window and you can hear what happens inside of a house. Right. That's the kind of tool and stuff it is.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, what if I took this suction cup microphone and directly stick it to the box? Then I can hear what's going on inside the box. Great idea. So I did that. When I did that, if you can imagine what hell sounds like the tortured soul screaming and just like agony and pain, and that's exactly what I heard coming from the box.
Okay, that's scary. That's next level.
Yeah, it wasn't the one spirit being like, "Hey, bastard, let me out of the box." It was
like 100,000 tortured souls in there screaming.
Wow. It was like a symphony of tortured souls screaming in pain.
Now I'm a nurse and I know what all that sounds like, but I think if I didn't have that suction cup, I guess I could have used a stethoscope to listen in there. Right. But so what happened with the box? Like you brought it home, you heard the stuff in there, and then what?
For the next few weeks, right? I would pick at the box. I would just kind of like, try to listen what's going on in there. And it was always
curiosity, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And like I would ask questions and then put my suction cup thing on there and hook it up to my headphones so that I could hear, the responses. Like, is there a spirit inside? What's your name? What'd you do? Like, why were you haunting these people?
Did you record this for like EVPs and stuff?
I did. Yeah. And I've never released it to the public. I've never once showed anybody any of that evidence. What? And I still have some of that. But
did any names come up like that, that were relevant or?
Not really names. The only way I can describe it is it's demonic. It's like the pure evil.
Something that you don't want to mess with.
Not even necessarily human. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't sound like it was ever human. It sounds like something that is absolutely demonic. And
was it doing like mimicking and all that kind of stuff? And like,
not really.
Okay. Scary stuff.
It was like, it was animalistically growling and just like this real throaty.
Oh, that's interesting. When we were over at that house that we were talking about down in the basement, there was like a really loud growl that came out of one of the spirit boxes while you were in there. And like, I know what you mean when you say growl. And it's like, if you haven't heard one and you do, it's like, ugh, gives you shivers, right?
Every hair on your body stands up and stuff.
Goosies.
But I was concerned, and the only reason I've never released the stuff from that session and those continuous sessions over the couple weeks is whatever it was saying or trying to say, I think it might be like some kind of spell or something.
That's not good.
I ended up with a spiritual attachment because of it. I ended up with it wasn't like some people get scratches and stuff like that. It wasn't like that. It was a psychological attack.
Deeper. Well, that's what they do. I mean, they suck the life out of you. That's what they want. They want your soul, right? So they want you to get as depressed and psychologically screwed up as they can get you. That's what they do.
Exactly what happened. And I had other experiences too, like with John Mallard, where I was talking with him, and he was saying I was having other voices other than mine coming through. So I was double talking. So like we're having a conversation right now, another voice would be talking from me at the same time that I'm talking.
On the EVPs that he caught, right?
He could hear it.
Then this was on the EVPs that he caught?
No, this is just a conversation. Me and John are just talking because I'm fucking, oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. No, it's all right. It's all good. We can make it explicit.
I'm seriously concerned at this point.
Yeah.
For my mental health, for my family. My family was having all kinds of experiences.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to the only person in the industry that I really trusted to talk to about this. Because I didn't want to be crazy. I didn't want people.
No, exactly. Nobody wants people to. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's why that's why we have this show, so people can talk about these things. I mean, people think, oh, paranormal people are crazy. No, we're not crazy. We have experiences, and it was not just us. There's thousands of people in the world having these experiences. So, let's talk about yours. I mean, you're in a spot where people understand.
Yep. So I was talking to my friend. Just as a friend, somebody that I trusted, somebody that was a friend, somebody that knew the paranormal. And I'm telling him about, some of the stuff I'm going through. And while I'm telling him that, another voice is coming through and he's like, Bob, you're double talking. Right. Which I couldn't understand at the time because like I can hear what I'm saying, but he can hear other voices coming through me talking at the same time.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. And I couldn't hear it myself.
Right. Okay.
Right. And when we did end up recording again, it's not there.
And I mean, he would know. I mean, he's heard and listened to so many different paranormal things and evidence with EVPs and stuff. I mean, you can read his book and things like that. It's really good. Yeah. There's a lot of different EVPs. But yeah, so tell us what you finally did.
Well, before that, I want to tell you about my family because my family were absolutely tortured by this as well. My daughter was 4 years old. At the time, she didn't know anything about ghost hunting. I never did any of that in front of her because I didn't want her to be 5 years old like I was, scared to death of the dark and leave my light on and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So I purposely sheltered from all of that, sheltered her from all of that. But she would,
right? You want to protect your kiddos,
right? So she would start telling me about experience she was having. Dad, I'm seeing these dark figures walking through my room. We had like this little room with a furnace in it and stuff like that. It would walk through the walls, go through the kitchen, and then directly into the box on the table. And she would describe it just like that. Like it went from here
into the box that you made.
The box that I made on the table.
That's crazy. Wow.
Seeing like a little boy in her room.
And when kids say stuff like that, yeah, I think that, parents need to listen. I know that, we talk about in the paranormal world how adults, of course, were taught, not to pay attention to it. And it's all make believe. But, of course, there's a theory about the pineal gland. I have to throw that out there, how when you're older, it's all dried and shriveled up like a raisin. But when you're younger, it's very active. And maybe there's a theory as to say that that's why maybe children see and hear things much more.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something to that. So yeah, so she was seeing these things and they were going in and out of this box that you brought home. I mean, that's suspicious, right?
And if it was just my daughter saying it, I might have been able to dismiss it. Like, yeah, I might have like just circumstantially be like, oh, well, that's her imagination or something. But my wife was also having multiple experiences as well. One of which I caught. I did post it to Facebook. I don't think it's on there anymore though. But it was actually during New Year's one year, and I was sitting on my couch.
Yeah.
Me and my wife were doing an EVP session, and during that session, we had all kinds of like different EVPs and stuff coming through. And using the ghost box, we set that up, and as well as through that, we were having all kinds of evidence. So it was like a very active session.
Wow.
And my house was very haunted even before this whole experience. But this was just like a free for all, and we had all
ramped it right up, 100%.
Yeah, like there was,
right.
Energy was like off the hook, especially on that particular night. I have an EVP, so I have my ghost box on the table in front of me, and you can see the TV in the background, and it's counting down to midnight.
Right.
So here, let's say this is my ghost box and it's sitting in front of me. You can see an EVP manifest from the box. It goes out and then it zips across my room. And when you go frame by frame in that video, the little orb that came out of it is a face. And there's an actual face in the orb.
Wow.
Going across my room. It is the most bizarre thing ever. And it was kind of like all these experiences. My wife was begging me, get this goddamn thing out of the house. She's like, why would you bring it here? You know what I mean? Get this out of the house. It's affecting your kid. It's affecting me. It's affecting you, you know.
And that's what they say they do. They start to affect the whole family, right?
And like, honestly, even now, my wife does not want me to be doing any of this paranormal stuff.
I was going to ask you about that. She's probably pissed off, or you're like hiding somewhere in the basement doing this episode right now.
She's actually at work right now, but like, and she is supportive, and she knows that I'm very passionate about trying to help spirits and trying to understand what's the best way for us to communicate so that I can talk to you, so I can help you better.
But now I have to mention an author who was on it, Teal Gray, and several other different mediums that we have on, and even our own medium in our BOG team, Jessica Williams Newhook, about protection. It's very important. You know, you saw me light that before. I even talked to you about this because I knew we were going to talk about it tonight. So I lit it just as a protection measure. You can talk about that later about what you do for protection, but let's continue with what happened with the.
So yeah, my wife was like, "This thing needs to go. Get this goddamn thing out of the house."
Right.
So then I'm like, I had this kind of moral moment where I'm like, how exactly do you get rid of a spirit that's trapped in a box, especially one that sounds demonic and I'm convinced is some kind of entity that is not good and not of this world?
Right.
So I started reaching out to different psychics, different paranormal people, asking people like, what do I do now? I've got this thing. I've got this thing trapped, apparently. What do I do with it? You know, if I want to get rid of it, how do you go about doing that? Mm-hmm. I didn't feel comfortable just throwing it in a garbage where some compactor crushes it and it's released and now comes back and finds me.
It's like the mummy, right? It returns.
You know, like, I don't know. So anyway, through the jigs and reels, I ended up talking to a psychic in the UK, and she gave me some really solid advice. She was like, your best bet is going to be to throw it in the ocean. And she's like, I'll tell you why. The box is going to sink. That's good. Over time, you know, the tape will peel off. All the wax is eventually going to let go, and the mirrors will be free. Your spirit will get out. And the salted water will actually help cleanse the spirit. Just
like David Jones's locker.
Right.
So
eventually that's what I did. I went to Middle Cove Beach, and I went way far away from the beach.
That's here in Newfoundland and Labrador?
Yep. And I tossed it off. Now, immediately after it sunk in the water, I hit my knees. I'm not a person who cries ever for anything. And I absolutely broke down. It was like the whole world had lifted off my chest, my shoulders. I'd been carrying this weight, this burden, this something.
Wow.
Immediately when I did that,
you felt release.
And like, there's more to the story that I would never say public. But yeah, it was a trying time in my life.
Yes, I mean, anybody who's ever had an attachment, it's not an easy thing to get through. And, you know, there's lots of different people who can definitely help you with that. And it's really important to do protections before and after whatever you're doing. And you know, take Rob's advice. And, you know, if you're going to bring something like this home, there's no joke, right? You got to be careful with what you're at.
When I see people egging spirits on.
Yeah, no.
I don't advise ever doing that.
No.
And I used to be that guy. You know, I'd always be respectful and stuff like that, but I would be like, hey, come use my energy. I would invite it in. Use me as your vessel.
Yeah, that's not a good thing to do, because it will do that. If you, like you said, everything is with intention. If you intentionally say, use my body, use my energy, it's going to do that. You know, instead of saying, use the batteries in my device or something, right?
Which is a much better approach.
Yeah.
And I chalk it up to a lesson learned. I will never invite a spirit into me again.
Yeah. No,
Even if it seems like it's a friendly one, I won't invite them in.
no, some spirits, are benevolent. And it could be your family or something like that, but you just don't know what you're inviting in.
And that's the thing. It could be a bad spirit that's mimicking a good spirit
Right.
to get access.
Yes. So you got to be careful with that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I'm just scrolling here through some things here on your social.
Yep.
And if people want to look for you and find you, I got some of the things that are up here.
Yeah. Go follow follow me on Facebook, and I'm not very active on Instagram, or Facebook's where I'm most active, but follow me on all my socials, because when I'm doing projects, all the industry bigwigs, they look at your numbers and see like what kind of following do you have and stuff. So having people following me like truly helps me out.
Yeah, everybody likes a good following crowd, and that's another good headshot there. And now, do you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm production manager for Military Kids for Kids, and it's a lot of work being a producer, being a production manager. But I truly enjoy it. It's my passion, and I love doing projects that mean something to me. So when we're doing our movies on, PTSD, or if we're doing military movies, I have great fondness for the military. I have members of my family that were in the military. And, since I never did get into the military, it's one way that I can pay tribute to those.
And it's a good cause. I mean, and, not only soldiers have PTS, you've also got first responders, and even you've got paranormal people with PTS, because as we're talking, we gave some examples of how you can have things happen.
Yep.
So it's a big thing in our industry, in our world, shall we say.
Yep.
So
so I love doing that kind of stuff. I love acting. I'm involved in a TV series out of the UK that's being put together right now called Vice Squad United Kingdom. That one's all about, it's kind of like a police show, but it's about a vice squad that's going after like human traffickers and stuff. And, that's something I'm passionate about stopping, is human trafficking. And
yeah, nobody likes that.
So,
that's for sure.
So that's going to be a really good project, and hopefully through watching that show, we're going to be able to help a lot of people recognize the signs of what does human trafficking look like, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's another story in itself for sure. With that kind of a topic, and I'm sure there has been a lot of deaths and stuff associated with that are, investigations done on where people are and what happened to them and things like that. Do you want us, I got to give a few shout outs now to you with your involvement here. I'm going to pull up a few different things. On this is the link tree where you can also follow Rob at a different area, which is the Paranormal NL Podcast, the Bog Team, and the merch. Do you want to talk a little bit about your merch?
Sure, yeah. So I created a bunch of different logos and stuff for the Bog Team. So all these logos you see there, that was just my...
I had asked him actually to create this one. You see the military-esque in there because of the Newfoundland and Labrador military history, especially paranormally. There's a lot of military paranormal history here. And over to the left, you see a little Bell Island-esque, and Bell Island was a huge motivator, if not the one of the motivators for creating the podcast, the Paranormal NL Podcast. And you see a lighthouse here.
Well, they can actually see it because that link tree thing is still in the way.
Oh, let me move it. Hold on one second. Oh, okay. I got to take this off and pull up another one. Let me remove this one. And the joys of technical things. You can only show one at a time. So, yeah. So I'll go ahead and I'll pull that up. I think I can only pull one at a time up, though. So you can keep talking about just merch in general.
So, yeah, I created a bunch of the different digital artwork and stuff for the logos. And, oh, there you go. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
right
what I
there.
was referring to earlier. So this is the main logo, and then we had mentioned pirates. Of course, Newfoundland Labrador, we got pirates, and then we got the Kraken there. We've
Yep.
also got with Hag is in there, and then we've got the lighthouse and the fog, because Newfoundland Labrador does have a lot of fog. And here's a lot of other logos that he has created. For example, the Bog Team logo. There's one there.
Yep.
Um,
So yeah, I tried to incorporate your ideas of what you wanted to see with my own spin on the digital artwork, and I just tried to create stuff that I think people would like.
Yeah, there's a lot of different fun things here. And of course, the Bog Team is sponsors Paranormal NL Podcast. So if you're looking for cool stuff, there's all kinds of cool stuff. You can get T-shirts and hats and mugs and all kinds of household stuff that you wouldn't even think of, and computer stuff and all kinds of cool stuff, tote bags and phone cases and hats and
And all
magnets.
that helps the team because we can use it to buy gear. I'm currently working on a couple different inventions and stuff for the paranormal and stuff like that. So if we can get some of the funding to help, some of these inventions that I'm creating, we can bring new tools to the paranormal field that are currently not in existence that might actually help bridge the gap between the living and the dead.
And that would definitely be helpful. I always like to try new technology, even though a lot of people say the old technology is sometimes best, depending on what location you are. Because some entities or spirits, they don't know what all this high-tech stuff is, right?
Yeah.
They prefer low-tech or old-tech, and that's why we use a lot of trigger devices.
Yeah.
So,
And I think a good mix of both, actually.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Simple stuff like take a book, roll a dice, comes up with an 8, you go to the chapter 8, you roll the dice, it comes up to 10, you go 10 lines down on chapter 8 or page 10 on chapter 8, and you just keep rolling the dice to figure out a word, and you point at the word and you say, hey, spirit, what word am I pointing to now? Now, if you get an EVP that says that word, you know what I mean? That's a direct response.
Right, then that's something compelling.
And it's not something that can be manipulated. It's not something that, you can predetermine. You know what I mean? So like old tech is definitely, really reliable for skeptical people. You know what I mean?
I think it both of it, I think, helps when you do high and low tech, definitely. Now, I wanted to do a little quick, shall we say, I guess you can throw in some New Year's Eve music here. I'm going to put on there's some music too. You've also been doing some of the Bog Team music, and I had a little taste of it there at the beginning. I had some techno music playing for New Year's. I guess I can put some of the tech music back on here. But do you want to talk a little bit about the different tunes that you may be hearing on Paranormal NL Podcast through the intro or the extras?
Yeah, so I've been putting together all these different songs and stuff like that. So we have some bumper music, and hopefully people vibe to it and like it. And you guys have any suggestions, or you have your own lyrics you think would be great for one of our songs? I'll absolutely make you a song utilizing your lyrics. Feel free to send them in to us.
And he does all genres. This one here is a nice metal one. This is one for boots on the ground metal. We've got all genres. We've got rock, pop, country, you name it. We got it.
Yeah, if you're following us on YouTube or something, leave a comment and let us know what kind of music you want. I mean, what you like, what you don't like, and then that'll help me create better music for everybody.
See, we've even got country, but since it's New Year's Eve, we want to have some cool pop stuff. We've even got hip hop. You name it, we got it.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Dance break. So, are you ready to bring in the new year tonight?
Yes,
I am ready. I'm gonna wake up the neighborhood. This is a horn that I use every year, and I think my neighbors know that it's us. The horn.
Yeah.
What are you planning on doing tonight?
We live up on a hill, so we overlook the whole city.
Right?
So when fireworks are going off and stuff like that, it's pretty incredible. So
I'm ready. I've even already got my confetti and everything ready to go. Woo!
ready for a fireworks show.
Definitely ready. Yeah, definitely. So tell us some more stuff about some of your weird paranormal experiences. What else sticks out in your brain?
There's so many. I really enjoyed hunting with my wife too. I've had some incredible experiences with her, and she's a very sensitive person to this kind of stuff. But like I've had ghost box sessions where the spirit box has told things to my wife that are absolutely irrefutable proof of life after death. So
what did it say?
I don't know if she'd want me to tell the story because like it's a very personal thing about a loved one who had passed away.
Oh, okay.
And she had basically put something with them after they had passed and stuff like that. And the spirit box knew exactly what that was, and it wasn't an item that you would expect. Like you could never guess what the item was. And the spirit box confirmed 100% exactly what it was. And my wife's jaw hit the floor, and like it just those kind of moments. And I think we're so in sync, like we feed off each other's energy and stuff like that. Yeah, it just like those kind of experiences just solidify why I do it. You know what I mean?
I definitely know what you mean. Before I started this, you know, I was a skeptic, okay? And like on our team, we've got Dan. He's a skeptic, and I was completely like Dan, but I'm also, you know, that's the Scully side, but I've also got the Mulder side. I want to believe, you know, I knew there was something to it, but until I started having all these like weird, unexplained things, especially when it comes down to physical things, then you start like, what the hey? Like what just happened? And then if somebody else sees it, then it's confirmation. And then you're like thinking, okay, maybe there's more to this than we know about.
And I think you have to still kind of be skeptical.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And like I've worked with mediums that I absolutely 100% believe that they have an ability. And I've also worked with other mediums in the past that I've gone, you're so full of it that, you know, so like I try to analyze the evidence as it comes in and make my determination of other people's experiences.
Well, that's where the investigative skills come in that you have, right? Yeah. I mean, you know,
have that balance in you though of the Scully and Mulder, you know, like you kind of have to be both.
Yes.
And you have to have
you have to be able to debunk it and prove it that, okay, it's not just, you know, you're stood next to some kind of Wi-Fi router and you got something else going on. You know, you got to do stuff like that too.
And I think spirits, like people, they have all different kinds of personalities. They have all different kinds of ways they like to come through. They have, you know what I mean? So like not everybody's going to have the exact same experience.
No, indeed not.
But over a broad enough investigative career, you can start piecing together certain things that unless you've had a real experience, you wouldn't know that. That
rings really true, because I'm sure that I've had a lot of other weird things happen and I didn't think twice about it. But now since I've been more delved into the paranormal stuff, it made me kind of think back on, oh, maybe that's what was going on, you know? When you actually get into it and research and learn a lot more about it.
Yep.
Yeah. So like, what's one of the things that stand out in your mind the most besides what happened to you then? When it comes to protections, do you have any suggestions or comments for anybody? We've got about coming up on about 5 minutes left there, and I've got to give another station ID soon.
I really just think be pure in your intention. Be true to why you're actually doing it. If you're doing it for YouTube likes and views, they know that. And the spirits, you can't bullshit them. They know your true intention.
Yeah.
And I think just be true to your own intention. I really don't like sage myself typically. Now, when we did the Torbay History House Museum and stuff, you guys saged me, and I let you guys. It's my first time investigating since I got out of the paranormal investigations. It was a big step actually to choose to go back and stuff.
Let me ask you how you felt about that.
It was very, in one way, the investigator part of me was like, yes, let's do this. And then I was apprehensive still at the same time, for multiple reasons, because of my bad experience, but also because like having so many people in one spot can lead to misidentifying evidence.
Right.
That's why, like before, when I said like I like to investigate alone, it's not necessarily because
It's contamination, right?
Yeah,
There's too many people there. Yeah.
And I know that I'm in a room completely alone and by myself, and something happens. Nobody's interfering with that. I'm not misinterpreting something that's happening in another room.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, like I was on the fence about it all. And coming out of that experience, I was like, okay, well, something's definitely going on there. There, without a doubt, we caught enough evidence, and I seen enough things myself, and my experience in the tunnels by myself, I can 100% say there's definitely spirits there.
Yeah. But how do you feel about it afterwards, going home and stuff? Do you feel good or bad about doing it again? Or
I didn't have any negative experiences and stuff. Yeah, I feel good so far.
okay. Well, you got the team here for your support, for sure.
And it's good knowing that I have people to go to if something does happen. You know what I mean?
And that's part of the reason why we all like, kind of being together in the same community. So you have somebody to talk to. And that's a really big thing for sure. So I'm going to put some more music on, and I'm going to do a little bit more of station ID. But again, if people want to find you and look you up or contact you again, if you want to
Google Robert Dumond on any search engine, and I'll come up, and you can check out my IMDb, see the movies I'm doing, see the TV shows. I got a bunch of stuff still to be listed. I got plenty of going on for 2025. I'm going to be traveling all over. I'm doing some really big projects coming up with some big names. So stay tuned. Follow me. Watch what I'm doing.
Thanks so much for being on tonight, Rob. I'm going to give a station ID, and then we should have a couple of seconds again to come back. And I think we'll put maybe some techno on for our New Year's here.
It's weak. A team of souls continue to seek. Through the fear of time, they bravely tread. The boots on the ground in the land of the living.
Station ID, Paranormal NL Podcast, is sponsored by the Bog Team. Hear the music in the background, and it's streaming pre-recorded on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, on 107.7 FM New Orleans and 105.3 FM Gulf Coast. UPRN is a 30-year-old award-nominated FM station with a large podcast division that calls New Orleans home. As pioneers in the ever-changing and ever-evolving world of podcasts, UPRN brings the absolute best productions in various genres, which include but are not limited to metaphysical, current events, lifestyle, sports, holistic, politics, and news. The network also has a wide range of shows that collectively delve into topics which would be deemed high strangeness, including the paranormal, ufology, cryptozoology, ancient technology, civilizations, esoteric, occult, conspiracy theories, and anything else that would be considered unexplained, supernatural, and out of this world. So everybody, I hope y'all have a great New Year's Eve. Gotta blow the horn again. Woo-hoo! Happy New Year 2025! Rob, I'm gonna turn the music down again so we can chat with you a little bit more before we peace out.
Yep.
Yes, tell us a little bit more. You got about 30 seconds. Give a little New Year's Eve shout out there.
Yeah. So shout out to my family. Shout out to my Bog family. Shout out to everybody in the United States listening. Shout out to everybody around the world. Hopefully 2025 brings peace and love to everybody.
Peace and love, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year. I'm going to put on some more music. There we go.
This is my style. Good.
Woo! Happy New Year! 2025. Woo! Happy New Year!
Where the spirits